Hey, welcome back to another video, guys. Welcome back to Technological Advances. Today the topic of discussion is the iPhone 12 Pro and if ProMotion has been confirmed. So we'll get into that later on in this video, but before we do that, I just want to take a few seconds out to say, please give me some time to figure out the lighting. I'm trying to go for a darker tone, but I think that a brighter light like what I have currently is going to look best. And also the audio is, I know there's a lot of echo in the audio currently. My mic is not with me as I'm self-quarantining, so just give me some time to figure all this out, and until then we'll just continue to make videos and talk about all the new technology that there's going to be in 2020 and beyond. So before we start talking about the iPhone 12 Pro and ProMotion, I want to take a second out to explain what 120 hertz means and what it can do for you. So when we talk about refresh rates, refresh rate basically in simple terms and layman's terms is how often in a second the screen refreshes itself or the screen blinks. Now for the human eye, even with 60 hertz that most screens are currently on with phones, you really can't tell that the screen is blinking 60 times per second. So if you can barely notice 60 hertz, I don't know how we're gonna notice 120 hertz, but obviously some companies like Apple, Samsung, OnePlus believe 120 hertz on a phone device is something that we need to have. Now let's not get this refresh rate confused with FPS. So the refresh rate, just to recap, is the number of times the display refreshes itself per second. And then the frame rate is the frequency with which a video file or video game displays a frame. So I know it is a little confusing, but for you as a consumer, 120 hertz, what it'll do is give you better quality in terms of gaming. If you're somebody that plays a lot of games, if you play a lot of Angry Birds, I mean Angry Birds is already pretty good with 60 hertz. With 120 hertz it'll look even better, but if you are somebody that plays games like, I know there's the Call of Duty app, that'll look awesome on 120 hertz. Now there's companies like Google Pixel 4, which has 90 hertz on their devices, and then there's OnePlus devices which can go up to 120 hertz. So the technology is already out there. As we all know, Apple is always late to the party, but what I've noticed is that Apple does everything awesome. So they release technology a year, 2, 3 years later than everybody else, but they deliver it in such a good fashion that it is an awesome device to use. So let's get into the iPhone 12 Pro. Now, a lot of the renders that you're going to see on your screen pop up are not my renders. I can't take credit for them. It's actually from one of my favorite YouTube channels. A lot of the content that I'm getting for this video is from one of my favorite YouTube channels, which is Everything Apple Pro. Love what that guy does. I've been watching him for years, and he's been delivering awesome leaks since, I can't even remember, 2013, 2014, probably, I think 10 years at this point. And then there's also Max Weinbach, who's an awesome leak source. For the iPhone 12 Pro, now keep in mind this is all speculation at this point, but what it seems like is going to happen for sure at this point, because it's only a few months away, is iPhone 12 Pro will be getting the 120 hertz ProMotion display finally. I'm still waiting on Apple to get to USB-C, which I thought would happen with the iPhone 10, but that's just my 2 cents. With ProMotion, it'll be awesome that iPhone is actually right up there with the competitors. So 120 hertz was first introduced, I'd say, about last year on mobile devices. TVs have had 120 hertz for years now, also 240 hertz and crazier than that. So for a mobile device to get 120 hertz is phenomenal. It's crazy, it's phenomenal, and it's a bit excessive, just like iPhones and Samsung devices and OnePlus devices like to be at this point. So it's very refreshing. Get what I did there? Refreshing, refresh rate. Anyways, it's very refreshing that iPhone is putting in a 120 hertz display into their phone this year rather than waiting 2 or 3 years like they usually do with technologies and come out with them a few years later, such as Face ID, Touch ID, when all the other devices, Samsung, OnePlus, had those features years before the iPhone. So having a 120 hertz display will actually drain your battery, and if you have the same battery that you currently have in your iPhones, or if you have the iPhone 11, excuse me, or if you have anything before the 11, if you had a 120 hertz display on your phones currently, the battery would drain really quickly. So to compensate for that, Apple is going to be putting in a 4400 megahertz battery into the devices, and that'll allow you to keep the battery life and also allow you to use the 120 hertz refresh rate, and be as excessive as you'd like to be. I'm not sure if the iPhones will be released in September this year because of everything going on with COVID-19, but we'll get to that as we get closer to September. It's only a few months away. I love this time of year because you're waiting for the new iPhones. And to be honest, my iPhone 11 Pro has done very well this year compared to other devices in the past with Apple, where they would start to slow down at this point. I can't wait to see what Apple has in store for us, and I can't wait to see what technology in general has in store for us. If you have any other questions, you can message me directly, and thank you for watching.